Sushi LiveNoding. In this episode, I want to share the breakdown on how I created these creatures. Basically, some kind of maybe alien sea cucumber of some sort. This guy is actually really pretty easy to create somehow. I'm using SVerchok for all the motions and the radius of these creatures, but let me take you through what's going on. So there are two variants of this creature. So this is a simple version. If I just show you this guy, so it's looking like super simple. It's basically like a curve with the radius that's coming from SVerchok. So it's just like basically a curve. And then the second version, of course, the sea cucumber is just like a distributed cones on top of the sea cucumber. And it's actually using a volumetric. Before we go there, let's study what's going on. So each one of them is being generated on the fly from SVerchok. Okay, so SVerchok have this ability to create curve on the fly. So we already know that. We learned that in the past. So I just turn this into just 5 objects for simplicity. Again, this is just a curve with geometry nodes being applied. Let's study the curve a little bit. So I started with just a simple line. This is the subdivision of the line. I made it 80, so there are 80 points per line or per curve. And then I plug this into noise displacement. And the noise matrix is being animated using frame. So I can control the speed of these creatures while it's moving around inside this noise displacement. So the noise displacement is being added together, and then this goes inside another noise or vector noise. Just 2 vector noise. One is responsible for the position of the curve. So like I said, each curve is slightly different. Each one have 80 points per curve. And then I simply output it using polyline viewer. And I'm generating, one of them is a vector points scalar for the positions, and the other one is vector this radius or float value that I can control. And this is pretty random, so I can randomize this vector noise. And I think I forgot to plug this in. So now each one of them has slight different thickness, like it's a little bit like a slug, a little bit like a cucumber. So with a Blender curve, of course, it doesn't have the beginning and the end. So you need to provide the beginning and the end. That can be added later. But anyway, I can increase the number. So you can see this is just a bunch of lines originally. But I can select one of them and then tap A, Command L, copy modifier. So each one of them becoming this slug. We need to turn them into sea cucumber using geometry nodes. Okay. So here we go. Each one of them, if you look at a spreadsheet, it's just a curve with positions. And if I just plug in the original, really original, this guy have vertices. Well, just evaluate it, I guess. Let me explain. Okay, this is the simple version. I simply use resample. I actually don't need to do that, but I'm using resample, and then I use curve to mesh and this curve circle to kind of swipe across the curve, while the radius is coming from the curve itself. It's coming from SVerchok. So if we do the same thing, and if we switch to the other one, okay, the cucumber, this one is slightly more complicated, but it's just a bunch of cones on top of the surface. So there are two things. First of all is the volume. Volume coming in from attribute capture. Here we specify, okay, get the radius from the curve and then use it into this volume mesh. In fact, the funny thing is, if I bypass everything, it simply become a volume. If you, I don't wonder if you can see that. There, it's become a spirit creature from Spirited Away. Yeah, it's just very cool, very cool. Point to volume with the radius coming from SVerchok, and I can use volume to mesh, and it's become a volume. Of course, with this volume we can easily capture the normal and then distribute points on face. So I can distribute 500 and then instance these little cones into each points, and then join them together, and we get this, the sea cucumber. It is really like pretty much like the sea cucumber. If you ever seen one of them, is pretty weird creatures. Yep, sea slugs, sea cucumbers, they're different actually. The one that's edible is sea cucumber. Look, maybe at some point we can make this shooting smoke. Anyhow, so that's how I created this sea cucumber. Everything is procedural. It's pretty easy to set up, somewhat, thanks to SVerchok and geometry nodes. At some point we can try to do this inside geometry nodes, but I think SVerchok is still useful and pretty powerful actually. I can make this 30. So 30 sea cucumber, select one, Command L, copy modifier. Now we have plenty sea cucumber. And we can do a lot of things here. Increase the number of spikes. We can play around with spikes. I think keep it simple for now. Anyway, yeah, I think it's quite alright. So yeah, hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.